Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, the central contention in the motion tabled by the opposition this afternoon, namely that the Conservative government has failed to address tax avoidance and evasion over the last 10 years, is simply not borne out by the facts. Now, the range that the opposition have stated here, the 35 billion to 90 billion, well, the 35 billion is the MHRC's estimate, so we'll accept that. The 90 billion, though, the provenance of that figure is rather less certain, and I spent some time searching for that before I came in here. And the only reference I can find to it is a blog post from Professor Richard Murphy. Now, members will remember that Richard Murphy was previously hailed as the founder of Corbynomics, and was held up in lights by the opposition as the answer to all the economic problems that we have. That was, of course, before he made the mistake of criticising the Leader of the Opposition, stating that he had no policy direction, no messaging, no direction, no coordination, no nothing, for which, of course, in true Corbynista style, he was purged. And the Shadow Chancellor later said, well, we doubted his judgment. Well, the Shadow Chancellor is not the only one to doubt Professor Murphy's judgment, of course, because the Oxford University Centre for Business Taxation and the Institute for Fiscal Studies, which previously cited his estimate of corporate tax gap as likely overstated, possibly by a wide margin. Now, many members during the course of this debate, Madam Deputy Speaker, have highlighted the fact that tax avoidance and tax evasion has continued to drop. The country's tax gap is now below 6%. It's one of the lowest in the world, and the trajectory continues to be downwards. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, the same Labour Party that moved this motion in this House today voted against many of the measures that have led to that reduction. By voting against the second readings of both the 2018 and the 2019 finance bills, they voted against 39 measures that will raise in excess of £7 billion by 2023-2024. So if they have any intellectual honesty, Madam Deputy Speaker, they would be far better off congratulating the government on closing the government and on having a better record on this issue than they had themselves when they were last in government. Madam Deputy Speaker, by and large, the evidence shows that the government are making progress in tackling tax avoidance, and I strongly commend ministers for their efforts. However, as part of the wider efforts to reform the tax system, there are individual policies that I think would benefit from a little more attention. And one of those is the issue of off-payroll working, which many of my constituents have written to me about, and I have in turn written to ministers to outline their concerns to them. These concerns include reports that clients are already beginning to refuse to engage as a result of the complexity of these rules, and that projected earnings are being drastically reduced without the receipt of equivalent benefits or protections of a salaried employee. Now, it is true that the services economy has changed drastically since off-payroll rules were originally introduced 20 years ago, so I believe that the government was right to look at reforms. However, it's extremely important that in seeking to close those loopholes, the government avoids unintended consequences that limit our future competitiveness. And at a time when maximum labour flexibility is surely a long-term benefit to the UK, I would urge ministers to take this into account. Thank you.
Anthony